a move that somebody could make if they were in the tiny minority of humans who don't face extermination if fascism wins. Somebody saying that could at least be the start of a discussion about the political philosophies of fascism, communism, and sifting through the various texts and the histories there, as opposed to a lot of the comments I got, which were actively trying to dismiss ever having any conversation of that kind. Oh man, we're really getting heavy into this stuff here. Mark Burgess asked me an excellent question: what identity do I have that makes fascism a threat to me? Well, aside from certain political affiliations that would lead to me being swiftly expunged if a hardcore fascist regime ever came to power, and aside from the loss of my loved ones, many of whom are in targeted ethnic groups, I have to be honest and say that if a Hitlerian regime came to power, I'm an educated cis-het white guy. I could maybe walk back from those political affiliations if I chose to cooperate, which I hope I would not. Because of the nature of my privilege, I could probably survive. Morally and spiritually, of course, I stand to lose everything if fascism triumphs, as of course we all do. Although we've seen that throughout history and even still on YouTube, shaking hands with the far right is a business strategy that works. But what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul? Over the Christmas period, I also did a couple of videos about the philosophy of YouTube, and in one of them I suggested that the YouTube community might be what philosopher Benedict Anderson called an imaginary community. And the Serial Hobbyist Girl left an awesome comment. They said that the kind of national communities Anderson was discussing are imagined and imposed from the top down, whereas they see the YouTube community being imagined and constructed more from the bottom up. I think this is an awesome point, and I agree to an extent. I think that the structures of YouTube and the kind of communities that YouTube itself, the company, and advertisers encourage, and not even encourage, but financially incentivize, I think that's maybe a kind of top-down imagination, but I agree there does seem to be... It's muddy. It's muddier, perhaps, than I should have said in that video. I also talked about how the availability of information on the internet might affect our moral responsibility to know things. One brilliant thing that Keith Robin mentioned was that if that's true, does it mean that communities like Amish people, or people who don't have access to the internet, which, let's remember, is most of the world's population on a regular basis, does that mean that they have different moral responsibilities from those of us who do? And that is a potentially very interesting point to highlight. I don't think it's, that stood out to me. Perhaps on reflection it's not actually that controversial to say that people in different contexts and times have different moral responsibilities, but that is something that's interesting to reflect on. Those are all the comments I have time for, and indeed those are all the comments from 2017. I look forward to all the amazing contributions you'll be making in the year to come. There is a series upcoming about rationality called Are You Rational?, which is an attempt, I guess it is kind of an attempt to move back towards like slightly more nitty-gritty. We've done a lot of political theory, basically, recently, and I wanted to do a bit of like quite hardcore in-depth epistemology. There is some you'll see. I've put my own twist on it, but the series is called Are You Rational? It's about rationality and epistemology. I'm excited by it. I think it's fun. I think it's going to be good, and episode 3 has some kind of slightly weird stuff in it, which I'm looking forward to. In addition to that, I have some other fun stuff planned for the year. I'd quite like to do some episodes on like machines and AI. Can you be friends with a machine is a topic I have in my brain that could be quite fun. I want to do something about witchcraft. There's an idea in my brain about an episode on witchcraft that I would love to be a kind of Halloween collaboration with ConjurePoints and or Marina Shut Up. So there's something about witchcraft. I want to do something about it because I've just been reading about it and it's really, really cool from a philosophical standpoint. Before, and here we're changing tone slightly, before I leave you with the credits, I wanted to say an extra special thank you to all of you for supporting me through December. December 2017 was a particularly hard time for me. There were some professional things, like some of the fallout from the Antifa video was less than pleasant, as I'm sure you can imagine. There was the Patreon thing, which is now resolved, so if you haven't heard of it, don't worry, but at the time, those of you who do know what it was can appreciate that it would have been very stressful for me, but much greater than either of those, sadly. December was chock full of some big personal tragedies in my life. So you couldn't have known, those of you who sent messages of support and left comments and chatting to me on Twitter throughout December, you couldn't have known just how much that meant at a very difficult time. Yeah, December was I think some of the worst days of my life, and I was very grateful for all of your support. I was especially grateful that I had YouTube as my job, because I could record December's videos ahead of time and set them to release and take time away, not only to grieve for myself, but also to be with my loved ones who needed me. So thank you so much. Throughout December I felt even more acutely just what an astonishing position I'm in, and it's because of all of you that I got through that, really, and that I had time to get through that. Yeah, thank you. On that note, but looking ahead to a brighter note of hopefully a happier 2018, I leave you with the credits.